Hey, Jim Vinoski with Manufacturing Talks. Welcome back. Quick question for you. When is a manufacturing boom not a manufacturing boom? I'll tell you when, right now. And I'm here to tell you why. This is going to be a solo episode. Stick around for me in just a half minute or so here on Manufacturing Talks.
Welcome to Manufacturing Talks with Jim Vinoski. Industry has a million cool stories, and Jim talks to the movers and shakers who are making them happen. Let's dive in.
Hey guys, Jim Vinoski with Manufacturing Talks. We're going to have a short one today, and it's going to be just me. I've got something on my mind, and I'm going to tell you guys about it. And it is this. There's all kinds of breathless reports out there here in the last few weeks, month, 2 months, whatever, about how there's this boom in American manufacturing because look, there's all this spending on manufacturing construction. Isn't that great? Well, no, unfortunately, it isn't. And unfortunately, the boom in manufacturing spending has nothing to do with a boom in manufacturing activity. So if you want to know what's happening in manufacturing activity, the best place to go for that is a thing called the ISM PMI. So that is the Institute for Supply Managers, and they go out and survey actual people working in manufacturing every month, and they get a gauge on various parts of actual activity in manufacturing. So orders, inventories, supply situation. And here's the reality. The last report, July 2024, the PMI was at 46.8%. 50% or lower is contraction. So we are firmly in contraction territory. We have been in contraction territory for the last 4 months and 20 of the last 21 months. Manufacturing is not booming. Manufacturing is in the doldrums and has been for some time. And there are a lot of reasons for that. But to point to manufacturing construction and say, oh, it's boom times. No, that's incorrect. Here's the other problem. It would be okay if there were actual market conditions driving that investment in manufacturing construction. But it mostly is not that. It mostly is government debt-fueled pork. Now, here's why that's a problem. Government's horrible at deciding where we should invest in manufacturing. In fact, calling government spending on manufacturing, unless it's for some specific purpose to what government does, like we had during World War II when manufacturing literally saved the world. If it's not to that point, if it's just manufacturing is a great place to pour a bunch of money so politicians can get the credit, it almost never works. So let's look at, for example, our energy secretary. So she hung her hat as governor of Michigan years ago on her investment acumen in manufacturing and specifically in battery technology. So let's talk about some of the things that she invested in. $9.1 million with a guy named Richard Short in 2010, invested through the Michigan Economic Growth Authority. And he basically embezzled that. So he went back to prison. Granholm invested in a company called A123 Systems in 2009 and cheered the company in a press conference talking about how it was going to make Michigan the alternative energy capital in North America and the advanced battery capital of the world. A123 Systems also received almost $250 million from the Obama administration. They went bankrupt in 2012. Another company, Azure Dynamics, that Granholm funded, bankrupt in 2012, laid off 120 employees. Only 2.3% of the 434 projects funded by the Michigan Economic Growth Authority under Granholm's watch were successful. 2.3%. Now she's running the energy department. So you can imagine what a rousing success she is making there. But surely you say, we've learned. And so, the Biden administration is now investing heavily in clean energy. And isn't that marvelous? Well, the news just came out last week about 40% of the projects that were invested in through the Inflation Reduction Act, the worst named law in the history of laws, and the CHIPS and Science Act. They offered more than $400 billion in tax credits. And as of now, announced projects worth at least $100 million. 40% of them are either canceled or delayed. And so NL's $1 billion worth of solar panel factory down in Oklahoma, Albemarle's $1.3 billion in lithium refinery in South Carolina, and LG Energy's $2.3 billion battery storage facility in Arizona, all either delayed or may never happen. In the case of LG, they're also getting a bunch of money to invest in a plant right here local to me in Holland, Michigan. And that's, again, a boom of construction. We see it happening right in our community. Trouble is they're laying people off at the same time that's happening. And so, you talk about, there's all this job creation, right? Well, let's talk about the next Democrat governor of Michigan after Granholm. That would be our current governor, Gretchen Whitmer, one of the most vile human beings I've ever encountered in my lifetime of following politics. So she has invested heavily, $1 billion on EV and battery plants. And how has she delivered? Well, as of now, and this goes back to June, this report comes from, she has created with that $1 billion, 200 jobs. 200 jobs. Now, today, our favorite journalist, Eric Starkman, came out with a report. He's been kind of tracking what GM has been up to. And, they're part of all this looking for government funding and spending enormous amounts and making all these promises. So they got, let's see, oh boy, $500 million in taxpayer money to retool a plant in Lansing for EVs on top of the $344 million that Michigan gave GM and partner LG Energy for the Ultium Cells battery plant outside Lansing. And they also received $2.5 billion in federal loans and will be eligible for state tax breaks on their equipment. So all that, they must be creating jobs like mad, right? Supposedly, according to Mr. Starkman, the $500 million giveaway is going to save, not create, save 650 United Auto Worker jobs and create 50 new ones. Do the math on how economically efficient that is. But here's the trouble. As Eric points out, just today, GM announced that they're eliminating 1,500 jobs, including 600 software jobs at its suburban Detroit tech center. So again, do some math and see how many jobs are actually being created on the total balance sheet here. I would say at this point, carry the 3, it's negative. We are investing literally billions of dollars and we are losing jobs. I could go on and on. Here's the problem. That's what politicians are going to do. We see it going back to the Granholm administration. It goes back way farther than that. And, who can blame them? They can claim they're doing all this stuff and have a press conference and talk about all the jobs that are going to be created. And nobody ever follows up and sees what actually happened. Hey, Trump did the same thing over in Racine, Wisconsin with the governor over there, promised all these Foxconn jobs in the new plant that they helped fund. And then they bought a bunch of homes and forced people out of them and tore them down and made a big open field. And they started building a few things. And now they've built a tiny fraction of what was supposed to be there. They've delivered a tiny fraction of the jobs that were supposed to be there. I don't know if anyone's ever gone back and said, let's claw back some of that money. To me, that ought to be a minimum with these pork barrel projects is you guarantee a certain number of jobs. If you don't deliver that number of jobs, you give that portion of the money back. If you deliver no jobs, you'd repay all of the money. That's the way it ought to work. But really more to the point, again, politicians, who can blame them? But now I'm hearing left and right people in my corner of the world in manufacturing who really ought to know better, also cheerleading all this crazy spending, running up inflation, running up our national debt, and investing in things that we know darn well almost never deliver the goods. So, if you're in manufacturing, come on. We are here to make things and make them at a price where people can buy them and create pluses for both the purchaser and the producer. If we're not doing that, if we require government money to succeed, we shouldn't be in the business. Go find something else to do. Okay? We're manufacturers. We should be delivering the goods, hopefully not needing any government pork, but certainly if you need a helping hand, then sign on the dotted line that you're going to deliver the jobs you promised, and you're going to deliver the products you promised. You're going to deliver the plant that you promised. If you don't, then get ready to pay it back. Okay? That's my 2 cents here. Let's grow up and let's start having our economy work again. Thanks for joining me on Manufacturing Talks. I'll see you next Tuesday.
Thanks for tuning in to Manufacturing Talks with Jim Vinoski. Watch for new episodes dropping every Tuesday. And don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe.